The dying star pulsed with angry red light across the crystal cities of Kethra Prime. The once beautiful towers that had stood for thousands of years now cracked under the heat and radiation. In the great council chamber, Elder Vashti struggled to breathe the thin, poisoned air that had once given life to his people. "How much time do we have left?" asked Council Leader Mirandis, her voice barely a whisper. Her crystal-like skin, once clear and bright, now looked dull and cloudy. The sickness was spreading through their people faster each day. The chief scientist, Dr. Pelandra, touched the data pad with a shaking hand. 3 months, maybe 4 if we are lucky. The star's radiation is killing our atmosphere. Our children cannot play outside anymore. The air burns their lungs. Young council member Lysar stood near the great window, watching their world slowly die. Below in the streets, Kethra families moved quickly between buildings, wearing protection suits that their ancestors never needed. The marketplaces that once buzzed with happy voices were now silent and empty. "We tried to be peaceful," Lysar said sadly. "For 10,000 years, we never fought with anyone. We shared our knowledge freely. We helped other races when they asked. And now, when we need help, no one will save us." Elder Vashti remembered better times. His people had been the teachers of the galaxy. Their beautiful crystal technology had helped many worlds. Their music and art had brought joy to countless species. They had never built weapons or taken land from others. Peace and kindness had been their way. "The Galactic Council says they are still thinking about our request," Mirandis reported, but everyone knew the truth. The council would talk and talk until it was too late. Other powerful races wanted the Kethra to die so they could take their technology and their beautiful crystal cities. Dr. Pelandra pulled up messages on the main screen. "We sent requests to 4 to 7 different civilizations. The Zalari Empire said we could live on their prison planet as workers. The Trade Federation wants all our technology in exchange for taking just half our people. The hegemony of Thrix said they would help us find a new home, but we know they just want to use us as slaves in their minds." The council chamber fell quiet except for the sound of the air recyclers working harder and harder to clean the poisoned atmosphere. Outside, the red star burned like an angry eye in the dark sky. Little Kethra children no longer laughed and played in the crystal gardens. Their parents kept them inside, away from the deadly air. The hospitals were full of sick people whose bodies could not handle the changing environment. Every day, more families lost their loved ones. "Maybe we should have learned to fight," whispered Lysar. "Maybe peace was not enough to survive in this galaxy." But Elder Vashti shook his head slowly. "Fighting was never our way. We are builders, not destroyers. We create beauty, not pain. If we must die, let us die as we lived, with kindness in our hearts." The great communication array in the center of the chamber hummed softly. It had carried their messages of hope across the galaxy for months, but only brought back cruel offers or cold silence. The younger Kethra had begun to lose hope. Some talked of ending their lives quickly rather than suffering through the slow death their world faced. Mirandis stood and walked to the ancient communication device. Her people had built it to share knowledge and friendship with other worlds. Now it would carry their final plea. "One last message," she said, her voice growing stronger despite her weakness. "If there is anyone out there who still believes in helping others, anyone who thinks life is worth saving, please hear us." The other council members gathered around as Mirandis began to record their final transmission. She spoke of her people's history, their love of peace, their contributions to galactic knowledge. She told of their dying children and their poisoned world. She did not beg or offer payment. She simply asked if anyone in the vast galaxy still had compassion for strangers. Dr. Pelandra set the message to broadcast on all known frequencies. It would reach every corner of the galaxy, touching every civilization that had the technology to receive it. Most would ignore it, as they had ignored all the others. Some might laugh at the weakness of a dying race. Others might see it as an opportunity to take advantage of desperate people. But maybe, just maybe, someone out there would care enough to help. The message launched into space, carrying the hopes of an entire species. In the crystal cities below, Kethra families hugged their children closer and wondered if tomorrow would bring salvation or if they would face their end alone. The dying star pulsed again, its angry light reminding them that time was running out. But somewhere in the darkness between the stars, their message traveled on, searching for a heart brave enough to answer a stranger's cry for help. Captain Lee Hyun rubbed his tired eyes as he sat in the communication room of the human ship Harmony. For the past 6 hours, he had been listening to the same alien message over and over again. The words were strange, but the computer was slowly learning to translate them. "Sir, I think I understand it now," said Lieutenant Park Eun, looking up from her translation screen. Her face was pale with worry. It's a cry for help. An entire race of people is dying, and they're asking anyone in the galaxy to save them. Lee Hyun leaned forward in his chair. Humans had only been traveling between stars for 50 years. Most alien races still thought of them as the new kids who barely knew how space worked. But this message made his heart heavy with sadness. "Play it again," he ordered. The voice that came through the speakers was beautiful but weak, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Even though the computer changed the alien words to human language, Lee Hyun could hear the pain and fear behind them. Commander Kim Sora walked into the room, holding a datapad. She was one of the smartest officers in the human space fleet, and she looked angry. "Captain, I just got word from Earth Command. The Galactic Council received this same message 6 days ago." She sat down heavily in a chair. "Do you want to know what they decided?" Lee Hyun already knew it would be bad news. The Galactic Council was made up of the most powerful alien races. They made all the big decisions about who got help and who didn't. Humans were too new and too weak to have much say in their meetings. "They said the situation is too complicated," Kim Sora continued, reading from her pad. "They need to study it more. They want to make sure helping these Kethra people won't cause problems with other alien governments." "How long will that take?" asked Park Eun. 6 months, maybe more." Lee Hyun stood up quickly, his chair spinning behind him. 6 months? The message says they only have 3 or 4 months left. "I know," Kim Sora said quietly. "The Council doesn't care. Some of the powerful alien races want the Kethra to die so they can take their technology and their planet." Park Eun looked at her computer screen, where she had been studying information about the Kethra system. "Sir, look at this. Their star system is very close to our space territory. We could reach them in just 2 days if we travel fast." Lee Hyun stared at the star map. The Kethra world was so close that humans could almost consider it a neighbor. While the powerful aliens sat in meetings and argued about politics, an entire race of peaceful people was suffocating on their own world. "Send a message to Earth immediately," Lee Hyun ordered. "Tell them we're going to help the Kethra." "Sir," Kim Sora said carefully, "Earth Command might not approve this. We're not supposed to act without permission from the Galactic Council." "Then we'll ask for forgiveness later instead of permission now," Lee Hyun replied. Within hours, the message reached Earth. In the Great United Nations building in New York, President Choi Minute-ho called an emergency meeting. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered to hear about the dying alien race. "These Kethra people have never hurt anyone," President Choi said to the crowded room. "For thousands of years, they shared their knowledge and helped other races. Now they are dying, and the galaxy is going to let it happen." An old ambassador from Europe raised his hand. "Mr. President, we must be careful. If we act without the Galactic Council's approval, we might make enemies of the powerful alien races." "And if we do nothing," replied the ambassador from Africa, "we'll have to live with ourselves knowing we let good people die when we could have saved them." The debate went on for hours. Some people worried that humans weren't strong enough to protect the Kethra from other aliens who might want to stop the rescue. Others argued that humanity couldn't afford to make enemies when they were still so new to galactic politics. But President Choi remembered something his grandmother had told him when he was young. "When you see someone drowning, you don't stop to ask permission to throw them a rope." The vote was close, but humanity made its choice. "We will offer sanctuary to the Kethra people," President Choi announced. "We will share our worlds with them until they can find a new home. And we will protect them from anyone who tries to stop us." Captain Lee Hyun smiled when he received the orders. Within hours, human ships all across the galaxy began changing course toward the Kethra system. They weren't the biggest ships or the most advanced, but they carried something that seemed to be rare in the galaxy: the willingness to risk everything to help strangers. As the Harmony jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading toward the dying Kethra world, Lee Hyun recorded a message to send ahead of them. "Kethra people, this is Captain Lee Hyun of Earth. We heard your call for help. We're coming to get you. Hold on just a little longer. You're not alone anymore." Sergeant Jang Woojin crawled through the tight metal tunnel inside the cargo ship, his toolbox banging against the walls. Sweat dripped from his face even though the air was cold. He was trying to change a regular Earth cargo ship into something that could carry alien people safely. "Pass me the oxygen regulator," he called down to Corporal Yoon Ha-na, who was working below him. She was covered in grease and looked tired, but she kept working without complaining. "Will this really work?" asked a soft voice behind them. Jang Woojin turned to see Velthara, one of the Kethra scientists who had come to help. Her body looked like it was made of living crystal, and she seemed to glow with a weak inner light. But the glow was getting dimmer every day as her world died. Humans have been making broken things work for thousands of years, Yunhane replied, wiping oil from her hands. We once sent people to our moon using computers that were less powerful than the phones our kids play with. Velthara watched them work with wonder. The humans moved so fast and seemed so sure of themselves. On her world, any big project would take years of careful planning and discussion. But these humans just started building and figured out problems as they went. Above them, Admiral Lim Soo-jin was having a meeting with her officers in the command center of the space station. The walls were covered with pictures of ships and charts showing how many Kethra people needed to be saved. We need 100 transport ships ready in 6 weeks, she said firmly. I don't care if we have to take apart every cargo ship, passenger ship, and pleasure boat in human space to do it. Captain Oh Sung-ho looked worried as he studied the numbers on his computer. Admiral, the math doesn't work. We don't have enough ships, enough fuel, or enough supplies. And even if we did, we don't have enough trained pilots to fly them all. Admiral Lim Soo-jin looked at him with hard eyes. Captain, I didn't ask you if it was possible. I asked you to make it happen. Every day we waste talking about problems, more Kethra children struggle to breathe their own air. In the ship construction yards floating in space around Earth, thousands of human workers labored day and night. Corporal Baek Jin-woo was welding metal plates onto the side of a transport ship while sparks flew around him. The work was dangerous and exhausting, but nobody complained. Why are you doing this? Asked Morthek, a young Kethra who was helping carry supplies. Your people barely know us. Why risk so much for strangers? Baek Jin-woo stopped his welding and lifted his protective mask. Kid, my grandfather always told me that you judge a person not by how they treat their friends, but by how they treat people who can't help them back. Private Nam Yijin was installing air cleaning systems designed specially for Kethra lungs. The work required her to crawl into spaces so small she could barely move, but she kept going because she knew Kethra families would be breathing this air soon. Sarge, she called over the radio, the Kethra say they've never seen anyone work this hard for people they don't even know. Jang Woojin paused his work and thought about that. Maybe that's the problem with the galaxy. Maybe that's why good people die while bad people take their stuff. Back on Earth, entire factories stopped making normal things and started making supplies for the rescue mission. Workers who usually built cars started building life support systems. Companies that made furniture started making beds for refugee ships. Even children in schools collected their allowance money to buy food for the Kethra. Dr. Moon Jae-sung, Earth's best space engineer, worked with Kethra scientists to solve impossible problems. The Kethra needed different air, different food, and different temperature than humans. Their skin would burn under lights that were normal for humans. We're trying to redesign our ships for people we've never met, Dr. Moon said to his team. But somehow, it's working. The Kethra know things about space travel that we never imagined, and we know things about building things fast that they never learned. Elder Vashtai, the old Kethra leader, watched human workers through the window of the space station. His people had always been careful and slow, thinking about every decision for years before acting. But these humans just jumped in and started saving lives. Your species is very strange, he told Admiral Lim Soo-jin. In our history, the strong always took from the weak. But you are using your strength to protect us. Admiral Lim Soo-jin smiled. Elder, maybe your people and my people can teach each other something. You can show us how to be wise and peaceful. We can show you that sometimes peace needs to be protected by people willing to fight for it. As more ships finished their changes and more Kethra people were brought to safety, word spread across the galaxy. Other alien races watched in confusion as humans spent their own money, risked their own lives, and gave their own time to save strangers who could give them nothing in return. Some aliens laughed and called humans foolish. Others began to worry that this strange human idea of helping others might spread to their own people. But in the Kethra system, families looked up at the sky and saw human ships coming to save them, and they knew that somewhere in the dark galaxy, there were still people who believed that every life was worth saving. General Thrix Khan stood on the bridge of his massive war ship, watching the human rescue ships through the big window. His 4 arms were crossed, and his sharp teeth clicked together in anger. The hegemony of Thrix had been waiting for the Kethra to die so they could take their beautiful crystal technology and their valuable planets. These stupid humans are ruining our plans, he growled to his second-in-command, Commander Bekthar. The Kethra were supposed to be dead by now. We were going to take everything they owned. Bekthar looked at the computer screens showing the human ships. They were small and simple compared to the giant Thrix warships. General, their weapons look very weak. Should we just destroy them and take the Kethra for ourselves? General Thrixkhan smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The hegemony had conquered dozens of weak races. They were used to other species running away in fear when they showed up. These humans would learn not to interfere with Thrix business. On the bridge of the human ship Defiance, Captain Kang Minitsu was watching his screens as the alien warships approached. He could see they were much bigger than his small fleet, but he didn't look scared. He looked calm and ready. "Sir, we're getting a message from the Thrix ships," reported Lieutenant Han So-young. "They're ordering us to leave immediately and stop rescuing the Kethra." Captain Kang looked at the rescue ships around him. Each one was full of Kethra families, children, parents, grandparents who just wanted to live. He thought about his own daughter back on Earth and how he would feel if she needed help and no one came. "Send them a message back," he said quietly. "Tell them we're not leaving." The Thrix ships moved closer, their weapons charging with bright red energy. General Thrixkhan expected the humans to run away, but instead they moved to protect the rescue ships full of refugees. "These humans are even more stupid than we thought," laughed Commander Bekthar. "They're going to fight us with those tiny ships." Without warning, the Thrix ships opened fire. Their powerful weapons hit the human transport ship Hope's Promise. The ship shook as explosions ripped through its hull. Captain Park Junho's voice came over the emergency radio, filled with worry and pain. "This is Hope's Promise. We have holes in our ship. Kethra families are trapped in the damaged areas. We need help." That was when the Thrix learned they had made a terrible mistake. Admiral Shin Hyun-wook was commanding the human battle fleet from his ship Thunder Strike. When he heard that the Thrix had attacked a ship full of refugee families, his face became hard as stone. "All combat ships, activate War Plan Omega," he ordered. "These people are under our protection now." What happened next shocked the galaxy. The Thrix had expected to fight scared refugees or weak patrol ships. Instead, they found themselves facing humans who had spent thousands of years learning how to fight wars. Captain Lee De-young's destroyer Shadow Strike had been hiding behind a large space rock. When the Thrix ships attacked the refugees, she came out of hiding like a hunting wolf. Her missile weapons fired so fast they looked like streams of light, hitting the Thrix ships before they could react. Commander Park Sejin's ship Thunderbolt attacked from the side, moving in a pattern that made it almost impossible for the enemy to hit. The human ships were smaller, but they were faster and smarter than the big, slow Thrix vessels. "Impossible!" shouted General Thrixkhan as his ship shook from human weapons fire. "These are supposed to be weak primitives." But humans had been fighting wars since they lived in caves and threw rocks at each other. They had learned hard lessons about strategy, about working together, about protecting what they loved. The Thrix had grown lazy from beating up helpless victims. Captain Kang Minitsu's ship Defiance led 3 other human ships in a coordinated attack that the Thrix general had never seen before. They moved together like dancers, each ship covering the others while they attacked different parts of the enemy fleet. Within 20 minutes, the Thrix war fleet was broken and defeated. Their ships limped away into space, damaged and embarrassed. General Thrixkhan couldn't believe that his powerful hegemony had been beaten by the small human fleet. How did they fight so well? Commander Bekthar asked, holding his wounded arm. They weren't fighting for conquest or glory, General Thrixkhan realized. They were fighting to protect those refugees. That made them dangerous. Back at the rescue ships, Captain Park Junho's crew was working to fix the holes in their ship while Kethra families helped however they could. The attack had scared everyone, but it had also shown them something important. Young Kethra Lythara looked out the window at the human warships that had protected them. "They could have run away when the big ships came," she said to her mother. "But they stayed to fight for us." Elder Vashtai, who was on one of the rescue ships, watched the human ships return to guard duty around the refugee fleet. His people had always believed that peace was the only way to live. But now he understood that sometimes peace had to be protected by people brave enough to fight for it. Perhaps, he whispered to himself, there are different kinds of strength in the galaxy. 3 years had passed since the Great Rescue, and Dr. Limandra walked through the bright hallways of the New Haven Research Center. Her crystal body now glowed with healthy light, no longer the dim, dying glow from her homeworld. She was working alongside Dr. Moon Jae-sung, a human scientist who had become her close friend. "Look at these results," Dr. Moon said excitedly, pointing to numbers on his computer screen. "When we combine your people's crystal technology with our problem-solving methods, we can do things neither of our species could do alone." Through the big windows, they could see something amazing happening outside. Human construction workers and Kethra builders were working together to build the first city that both species would share. The humans brought their strong machines and quick building methods. The Kethra brought their beautiful crystal designs and knowledge of how to make buildings that would last forever. Children from both species played together in the parks. Human kids taught Kethra children how to play soccer, while Kethra children showed humans how to make beautiful music with crystal instruments. The sound of laughter filled the air in many different languages. Ambassador Jung Subin stood on the observation deck with Elder Vashti, watching the city grow below them. The old Kethra leader looked completely different now. His crystal body was bright and strong, and his eyes sparkled with hope instead of fear. "Your people saved us from dying," Elder Vashti said softly. "But you did more than that. You showed us that there are still people in the galaxy who will fight for what is right, even when it's hard." Jung Subin smiled as she watched human and Kethra families walking together down the street. Some families had adopted children from the other species. "We learned something too," she replied. "Real strength isn't about being the biggest or the strongest. It's about helping others when they need you most." In the distance, spaceships were coming and going from the planet. Some brought supplies and new settlers. Others were leaving to explore the galaxy. But these weren't just human ships or just Kethra ships anymore. They were mixed crews working together. A communication alert beeped softly. Captain One Hyjin appeared on the wall screen, speaking from her ship somewhere in deep space. She looked tired but excited. "Ambassador Jung, we're getting a distress call from the Velterran star system. It looks like another race of people needs help. Their planet is being attacked by pirates, and they don't have any weapons to defend themselves." Elder Vashti and Jung Subin looked at each other. They both knew what had to be done. "How many ships do we have ready?" Jung Subin asked. 57 rescue ships, 12 medical ships, and 25 combat ships," Captain One replied. "All of them have mixed human and Kethra crews." Jung Subin turned to Elder Vashti. "What do you think? Your people have never been warriors." The old Kethra leader thought for a moment, remembering how his own people had felt when they thought no one would help them. "We may not be fighters, but we can heal the wounded and help rebuild what the pirates destroyed. No one should face death alone when we can help them." Within hours, the joint human Kethra rescue fleet was preparing to leave. In the ship hangars, crews from both species worked side by side. Human soldiers checked their weapons while Kethra healers prepared medical supplies. Human engineers worked with Kethra scientists to make sure the ships could handle any problems they might face. Captain Lee Taiho, a human, was working with his second-in-command, Subleader Morthek, a young Kethra who had learned human military tactics. "Are you ready for this?" Lee Taiho asked his friend. "This might be dangerous." Morthek's crystal body glowed brighter with determination. "Captain, 3 years ago I was a scared refugee waiting to die. Now I'm going to help save other scared refugees. Yes, I'm ready." As the ships prepared to launch, news of the rescue mission spread across the galaxy. Other alien races watched with surprise and worry. Some of the evil empires that had ignored the Kethra crisis were now nervous. This new alliance between humans and Kethra was becoming strong and confident. The Trade Federation, which had wanted to buy Kethra people as slaves, sent a worried message asking if the rescue mission would interfere with their business interests in that part of space. Jung Subin sent back a simple reply: "Any business that hurts innocent people will find the human Kethra alliance standing in their way." On other worlds, weak and oppressed people began to hope. If the humans and Kethra could save the Velterran, maybe they would come for them too. Maybe the galaxy was finally changing. As the rescue fleet launched into space, heading toward the distant Velterran system, Jung Subin and Elder Vashti watched from the observation deck. "Do you think we can really change the galaxy?" Jung Subin asked. Elder Vashti looked at the stars, thinking of all the people out there who needed help. "Maybe not all at once. But one rescue at a time, one friendship at a time, one act of kindness at a time. Yes, I think we can." The ships disappeared into the darkness between stars, carrying hope to another dying world. Behind them, on New Haven, human and Kethra families continued building their shared future, proof that when good people work together, anything is possible.